of The Lead and Martina Bett, political correspondent at The Sun. Great to have you with us this morning. Thank you so much. Let's kick off, shall we, Zoe, with the Daily Express and Kemi Badenoch calling for an urgent inquiry into grooming gangs. What are the details there?
Yeah, so Kemi Badenoch has joined Elon Musk in calling for a statutory investigation. And this is after the government chose not to lead a public inquiry into the historical child sex abuse in Oldham. So she has joined calls for there to be an inquiry. There's already been an independent inquiry into child sex abuse in the UK. It was commissioned by Theresa May, I think, in 2017. It reported in 2022. There have also been individual inquiries into various incidents of grooming gangs across the country. I think this is extraordinary hypocrisy from Kemi Badenoch. She was part of the government that chose to basically ignore the recommendations from the 2022 investigation, and now she's trying to make political hay out of this issue when really, you know, work has been done on this and recommendations need to be followed through. And I think really when she's joining the calls from Elon Musk, you know, kind of riding on the coattails of the Reform Party on this issue, she's undermining the work that the Conservatives should have already done on this issue that isn't just, you know, grooming gangs. It's a massive issue across the UK, all different kinds of experiences in this inquiry of child sex abuse. And really, you know, it is an epidemic that has been called for.
And that same story being covered slightly differently in the Daily Telegraph, Martina.
Yeah, it is being covered slightly differently. He says that Labour blocked an inquiry into Keir Starmer's own conduct whilst he was the head of the Crown Prosecution Service, and then talks about the criticism led by Elon Musk and how he's been attacking Jess Phillips, who's the safeguarding minister who made the decision in the first place, and said that was a matter for the council. Elon Musk said that she should be in prison. Refer to Keir Starmer's two-tier Keir again, which is a term that was used during the riots over the summer, which basically is this theory that our institutions, our police, treats far-right groups more harshly than other ethnic minorities. What I would say is that if you were a better political operation in all of this, I think this decision should have been taken out of Jess Phillips' hands. She's the safeguarding minister. She's an MP who is quite electorally vulnerable. She had a big majority, and then because of the situation in Gaza, majority was reduced by quite a lot. And, you know, this stories provide quite fertile ground for suspicions and conspiracy theories. And, you know, it does provide cynicism around the reasoning of why she might have blocked this inquiry. So I think it might provide some thinking for the Labour government.
How concerned, Zoe, do you think the government will be with Elon Musk's commentary on UK politics?
I think it's a real concern. I mean, now he's part of the Trump administration. We know President-elect Trump will take his position in the White House again in January, and having Musk in Trump's ear at a time where we also know that Trump, you know, very much backs Nigel Farage, backs the Reform Party in the UK. This is going to be politically very difficult for Labour as they try to maintain that special relationship, and also all the other things that Trump's planning, you know, the tariffs, protectionism. They want to stay on the US's good side, but they know they're fighting an uphill battle against a president who, you know, he has people around him who are seeking to undermine the UK Prime Minister every day.
Another big issue for the government of the day, page 7 in the Times, big public sector rises means cuts. And this is a caution from Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor.
So I think one of the most kind of underappreciated things the Labour government did when it came in was actually put an end to some of those strikes in the health service quite quickly. But already this issue is rearing its head again. So the Chancellor has recommended a 2.8% pay rise for public sector workers. So this is teachers, nurses, health workers. But unions are already saying that's not enough. They want to see more. But now Rachel Reeves has warned her ministers that if they are going to push ahead, if they want to offer pay rises to public sector workers, then that money is going to have to come from somewhere in their departments. So they might see cuts to frontline services, they might see cuts to departmental budgets, and that's something that individual ministers will have to think about if they want to push forward this. This is a row that's not going to go away. It's going to be a big issue for the Labour government. You know, they want to keep services ticking over. They want the NHS to keep ticking over. But if there are rows about pay, that might cause more strikes, more, you know, increases to waiting lists.
Martina.
And I would say that having given the green light to train drivers and junior doctors to eye-watering sums in terms of pay rises over the summer, it's not surprising, really, that the unions are making similar demands. So yeah, it is a dominant issue that we'll see again this year. It's interesting from the IFS, one of the researchers there said that, public and private pay levels at the moment are very similar, but he did point to, which is something that the Treasury has been pointing to as well, and the reason why they've not recommended a bigger increase is because public sector pensions are still quite high and they are considered a premium. So that's what we're seeing now.
OK, the other big story is about the and this is the Telegraph, isn't it, Martina?
Yes.
Usually the high street is the heartbeat of a community, but more and more shops are closing, staff out of jobs, and this is being picked up here on the front page today.
And what is quite striking is that they are blaming the budget, Rachel Reeves' budget, and increases in national insurance. What I thought was quite interesting in this article is that the CPS, the Centre for Policy Studies think tank, says that it's the firms with the lowest pay that are going to be hit the hardest. So they say that by making it more expensive, basically, to employ people, these hikes will disproportionately affect the lowest paid, but also those people that are seeking to go back into work after being economically inactive. And I think that's key because bringing people back to work is going to be one of the biggest challenges that this Labour government has got. And if we're already seeing where they're going to publish a new plan this year to solve this problem, which is going to cost 100 billion by the end of this parliament. So I think that's key. And if we're seeing the budget already harming this, it's not very good news.
There isn't much great reading in the papers this morning, is there? In particular in the Eye, and it's all their front pages about heat pumps and the big bill that could be hit by households who will have to install them eventually.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. So it says almost all homes will have to fit a heat pump under plans to change Britain's domestic heating systems and cut emissions. They'll ultimately be installed in most properties across the country. And although the government will grant some money, UK households will have to find the other. But they also, it says many houses, and I'm thinking of my own house here, which is a Victorian property, very poorly insulated, will also need to find money for improved insulation. So while the government is pushing forward with the green agenda, and while they want to see more environmentally sound measures, they want to get to their net zero targets, there is of course a cost to all of this. And the big challenge for Labour will be how they balance the cost to households when they're dealing with increased energy prices, when they're dealing with the cost of living, but also trying to show them how actually in the long run, if Britain can lead the way on green measures on net zero, it might make us all better off, and it can make Britain more investable. But it's that kind of difficult political decisions now for payoffs later, which I think Labour is trying to do. It's just a very difficult sell, especially when you have a media landscape that is quite critical at things being changed, and quite critical about people trying to change the status quo.
Yeah, OK. We're going to finish then now. The Daily Telegraph, back to the Daily Telegraph. It's their front page picture this time. And it's all to do with Meghan Markle returning to social media, and it's causing a bit of stir in the papers and online too.
It has. She did give a bit of a teaser to us all over the New Year's
Which I wasn't sure whether it was real to begin with, but it's true.
It was. It was. Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, returned to Instagram, and people were wondering why. And we found out yesterday because she released a trailer for a lifestyle show. She's going to be a celebrity chef, and she's going to invite people over to her house, and she's going to cook lots of things ordinary, but according to her, the joy would be in elevating all these dishes, like hummus with a drizzle of olive oil. but I mean, it's exactly what I expected her to do.
Absolutely.
Or we all did.
So we'll see how popular that is. That is all from us. Thank you for your company. Back after the break.
We've got your Sunday mornings covered.